All right, man, peace. So most of you brothers who follow professional boxing know that one of the most impressive up-and-coming young champions, especially in the lower weight classes, is Mr. Gervonta Tank Davis. But the question begs to be asked, when will he finally be required to share the ring with a fighter who has equivalent accolades, skill set, and age? As of now, he is yet to do that, but he is fighting the fighter with the biggest name thus far that he's ever shared a ring with, that being Mr. Yuriorkis Gamboa. This fight reminds me of a fight that Cassius Clay had back in the early 60s when they were trying to build him up and they finally allowed him to face a bigger name. But when Cassius Clay faced that fighter, he was not a champion yet. That fighter, by the way, was Mr. Archie Moore, who by that time was damn near 50 years old, if he was not over 50 already. May have been 52. Either way, Cassius Clay was able to spark him, I believe, in 4 rounds, and off he went. After that, he was allowed to fight Henry Cooper and then, of course, Sonny Liston. I believe he also fought Doug Jones somewhere in the middle of that as well. But at the end of the day, they understood. When I say they, I'm talking about Cassius Clay's handlers. And, of course, he went on to change his name to Muhammad Ali. Cassius Clay's handlers understood that he needed a big name on his resume so that they could start correlating their young fighter's resume with other named fighters of reputation or what have you. I think that Mayweather Promotions is now starting to grasp that even though they've been extremely careful with Gervonta Davis's career, he is a champion who has really never fought anyone of note. Those of us who know what we're watching understand that according to the eye test, Gervonta seems to have it all, but you never really know until he shares the ring with another great fighter. As of now, it seems as though he's growing out of the 130-pound division. As I'm recording this video, he recently missed weight at the weigh-in for his fight against Yuriorkis Gamboa. He was able to make weight later on in the evening. But of course, that spells death when it comes to his tenure in the super featherweight division, which is the 130-pound division, which means that, of course, he's going to have to move up to lightweight, where you have a lot of much bigger names like Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko, so on and so forth. Maybe even a Richard Comey. I'm not quite sure if they're going to be able to make those fights happen because a lot of those guys are on the other side of the street. As a matter of fact, every fighter that I named is on the other side of the street. But once again, we're going to finally get a chance to see exactly how well Mr. Davis fares against another fighter who's been in the ring against top competition. And Mr. Yuriorkis Gamboa, who has a lot of tread on his tires, but is still extremely dangerous. So, of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Welcome back to TV Sports. Evan here with Michael J. Babcock.
What's up, man?
We got a huge fight coming up. A big deal with one of the most exciting men in combat sports. We've covered him on the show a lot. Of course, we're talking about Gervonta Tank Davis.
One of the biggest, brightest young stars in the entire sport of boxing, Evan. This guy is amazing.
Yeah, 25 years old, 22-0, undefeated, and he's just been running through opponents like crazy. And now he has his toughest test of his whole career, in my opinion. Yuriorkis Gamboa. If that name sounds familiar, it should. He's 30-2. He's only lost 2 fights in his entire career, and one of those losses was to Terrence Crawford.
Who might be the best boxer in the world. Gamboa is on a 4-fight win streak. He lasted 9 rounds with Terrence Crawford. Gamboa is the former unified world champion. This guy is a legit stud.
Well, Gamboa is definitely a legitimate name, but we all know that if Gervonta goes out and does what many of us expect him to do, which is engage in a firefight with Yuriorkis and potentially stop him somewhere around rounds 5 or 6, everyone's going to say that Gamboa got old or is older. But it's still going to be a great name on Gervonta's resume. He's going to have to be very careful with this guy. As we all know, he comes out of the Cuban boxing school, so that means that he's extremely well trained for any and all situations that might occur in the ring. But Gamboa is extremely chinny. So I expect that as soon as Gervonta hits him with one good one, that he's going to feel it, and his legs are going to turn into Bambi legs. We'll find out, though, because he could easily spark Gervonta as well.
I think they've been building up Tank Davis, building him up. This is the hardest test of his career. This guy is a legit fighter who could beat Tank Davis.
That's right, because he's been beating, I don't want to say like he's been fighting bumps, because he hasn't, but like the level.
Well, if Gamboa beats him, it's probably going to be by stoppage.
competition when you're looking about his previous opponents, and then Gamboa.
Gamboa is a great fighter.
If he wins this fight, which I personally think he will, because I think he's on a tear right now. If he wins this fight, this is the biggest victory of his career if he can get through it. It's all going down on Saturday, Showtime Boxing, Davis versus Gamboa.
I cannot wait.
By the way, Davis has been training with Floyd Mayweather for a very long time. Floyd Mayweather actually looks at him and calls him his progeny, refers to him as his son.
Well, Davis has been training under the Floyd Mayweather promotional banner. He has not exactly been training with Floyd. Of course, Floyd gives him a lot of pointers, a lot of unrequested pointers, but but no. The commentator speaks as if Floyd Mayweather is Gervonta's trainer, and he's not.
Actually spoke to Floyd about Gervonta and what he thinks about his potential and his training and where he could go in this sport. And this is what Floyd had to say.
Gervonta can go as far as he wants to go. As we all know, whenever he's asked any questions about Lomachenko and a lot of these other fighters, he does seem to show a great deal of hesitation, reticence, dare I say fear. Because what Floyd has very adroitly done is dangle Lomachenko as a threat over the head of Gervonta Davis whenever Gervonta starts to act up. So Floyd understands what Gervonta's outlook is when it comes to some of the other more prominent fighters in the 135-pound weight class, or at the time when Lomachenko was fighting at 130. So he knows that mentally Gervonta Davis is not ready for Lomachenko, but he's going to have to dive into those deep waters. You can't swim in the kiddie pool for your whole career.
Talk to me.
How much of yourself do you see in Tank, man?
Oh, man, he's an unbelievable fighter.
The reporter asked Floyd Mayweather, how much of yourself do you see in Tank? And Floyd paused for a few seconds because he was like, I don't see any of myself in that dude. That dude is mentally unstable and unfocused. But he can't say that. So he said, Tank Davis is an unbelievable fighter.
And they can't stop him. He's the best at what he do.
Right, but Floyd, that's not what they asked you. They asked you, how much of yourself do you see in Tank Davis? You know that you don't see any of yourself in Tank Davis. As a matter of fact, I think that deep down, Floyd is trying to string along Tank Davis's career and stop him from fighting great opposition. Not because Tank does not have the talent to beat such great opposition, but I don't think that Floyd believes that Tank Davis believes in himself enough to beat better fighters. And the mental approach is 85-90% of the battle, especially when you have two pugilists getting in the ring who have, equal skill set, equal power, etc. If Tank Davis were to move up to 135 and face off against a Teofimo Lopez would probably beat him, because I would expect Teofimo to have a sharper and a firmer mental approach to fighting a Tank Davis than the other way around. Tank has just shown me way too much doubt in every other scenario or situation where great fighters' names were brought up who fought at 130 or 135.
I'm behind him. I look at him like a son. I've been working with him for years now. Yeah. And the only thing we want to do is keep racking up victories and beating the best they got out there.
Yeah, so the first step in that process is this weekend, obviously, Saturday at State Farm Arena in Atlanta. Saturday, December 28th on Showtime for the WBA World Lightweight Championship. This is a big deal.
You know what's
Davis
crazy?
versus Gamboa.
Tank Davis is only 25 years old. He has become one of boxing's biggest stars. This is his third time making a headline appearance just this year. So this guy's a big star. In that clip, we asked Floyd, 50-0, TV, the best ever, how he compared with Tank. Floyd is a defensive fighter. Tank Davis is like a mini Mike Tyson. So if you like violence and big punches, Tank Davis is your guy. There's always fireworks. He knocks everybody out that he...
I'll say this. I thought that the last fighter that Tank Davis was in the ring with showed a high degree of skill. It's just that he happened to get caught by one of Tank's power punches. So that's pretty much all she wrote. When you get caught by some of that shit that Tank Davis throws, you're going to feel it. Every fight that he's been in thus far shows it. But will his power carry up into the 135-pound division? And will he be able to catch Gamboa with something that will make Gamboa dizzy enough or doubt himself enough to not want to fight anymore? Remember that Yuriorkis Gamboa got hit with some hellified shit from Terrence Crawford, and he kept fighting. I mean, that was arguably the fight of the year that year whenever they fought. I think they fought in 2013 or 2014. Both of those guys were on Bambi legs that night.
fight
Meanwhile, Gamboa was like the great hope a long time ago, right? He's 37 years old now, but like
he's been around the block, but he's still good.
He's still good, but like also he's trying to show people he's not washed, right? He still wants to fight, and if he beats Tank Davis, that's a big win for him, and it got him a lot. I mean, he can make a lot of money.
What better way to show you are still here, Evan, and still a contender to be a champion than beating one of the youngest rising stars, one of the youngest stars in the sport.
Look, with all due respect to Gamboa, who, like I said, is a good fighter, I think Davis is going to beat the dog sign out of him. I think you're going to see a violent knockout. Personally, I don't think this fight goes 6 rounds.
I'm prone to agree with that. As of right now, I'm going to predict a Tank Davis knockout of Yuriorkis Gamboa inside of 6 rounds. I'll say somewhere in the 5th round, maybe 6th round. Tank Davis is going to stop Gamboa.
He hits him I think he's going to come out
early knockout. You're calling for?
I think it might. You know what? It might not even go 3. I'm actually being dead serious, by the way. I don't think this fight will go 3 rounds.
I think Evan is disrespectful.
Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me if Tank Davis stops him inside of 3 rounds. Anything can happen when you have 2 fighters with that type of power. Tank Davis, I'm not quite sure if he's had his chin tested like Gamboa has against some of the competition that Gamboa has been in the ring with. That's the only question, is how much will Gamboa's punches impact Tank Davis?
I like Gamboa, but I think that Tank knows how important this fight is, and he knows how important like a knockout is and a highlight is, and I think he's going to get it this fight. I really do.
I agree. Tank Davis has to understand that this is the biggest name on his resume. He has to look impressive, especially as he continues to move through the weight classes. But anyway, once again, I'm going to predict Tank Davis by knockout in anywhere from rounds 3 to round 6, but it's going to be an early night, most likely. Now, could I see Gamboa sparking him? Yes, I could. I could see that as well. Gamboa is still a world-class fighter. He's older, but the last thing to go is the power. But once again, I'm picking Gervonta Tank Davis by knockout in the early rounds, somewhere in between rounds 3 and 6. But anyway, peace.